what they termed non-homogeneous rock. You might be doubtful that these rocks are hollow, but watch Andre's video here of the study.
And I find that these blocks have the empties in the inside of these blocks. You can see it clearly.
Wish is well doing, and welcome back to Rebooting History. My name is Neil, and I'm a researcher of truth. This thing called history is hard to pin down. After a while, it gets so old, there's just guessing. And it's not a hard science, it's a soft science. Just like some rocks are hard and some are soft. But what does it take to make a hard rock soft? Let me tell you. And you will be surprised when I tell you who has the answer. It's Bon Jovi, my favorite. Yes, it's Bon Jovi, because Bon Jovi's my favorite band, and I know that Bon Jovi's second album was 7,800 degrees Fahrenheit. You see, 7,800 degrees Fahrenheit is the melting point of rock. The melting point of rock. Yes, I know it wasn't their greatest album, but their next album was Slippery When Wet, and that had so many bangers. Sorry, I'm going off, but don't worry. We're halfway there. This video is living on a prayer. My last video had 29 views. Sorry, going off again. But speaking of views, just look at these amazing rocks. How could you look at these incredible polygon walls and not wonder, how, why, who, and when did they do this? All around the world, from Egypt to Greece to Italy to Peru to Japan to Easter Island. Personally, when I see this stonework, the scoops, the nubs, the keystones, which are melted keys that hold two stones together, the ruts, the precise cut paper-thin joints between the stones in the walls. The way I see some of these are that they are puffy, like slightly cooked campfire marshmallows. I see something that was melted, rock that was melted. What does the mainstream archaeologist see? They see people smashing rocks together using sand and soft copper tools most of the time. It's a mystery. They don't know, they guess. It's a soft science. It's guesswork. Again, I see rock that was played with, as if it were putty, perfectly crafted by master stoners. I want to call them all master stoners. The master stoners of an epoch gone.
The master stoners of the epoch gone.
Occam's razor says the most likely scenario or guess is probably the answer. Something like that. I see melted, manipulated rock. So besides that, just looking at what appears to be softened stones, is there any evidence that this is how the master stoners created these marvels? The answer is yes. But we must go to the site of Sacsayhuaman in Peru, the mother of all stone manipulation sites on Earth. The answer may lie right in front of our faces. You see, there was an almost forgotten and rarely talked about study that was conducted by Russian scientists in the year 2012. What they discovered was completely outstanding. This scientific study determined that indeed these walls were artificial.
Maybe the rock got so hot it melted.
Maybe the rock got so hot it melted. It melted. What does this mean about our true human history? How can we use this study to determine how all the other sites around the world, around the ancient world, built with stone? Join me so we can give the mainstream narratives and their copper chisels and their soft science guesses the hard boot.
And not far outside of the boundaries of Alexandria stood the great group of pyramids. Very little is actually known about the pyramids. which have remained to this time the wonders of the world.
In the year 2012, the Ministry of Culture in Peru called forth a team of Russian geophysicists to solve a massive dilemma. The impending danger was the continued accelerated collapse of the World Heritage Site called Sacsayhuaman in Peru. The alarming problems were caused by meteorological and anthropic processes. The Russian mission was to reveal areas of greater humidity, cracks, ruptures, and faults, and underground objects. By the time the study came to an end, there were 4 incredible conclusions. Number 1, the stone blocks are artificial. Number 2, there are 2 types of blocks, which comprise of Sacsaywaman's walls. Number 3, there is what appears to be an unexplored burial tomb 200 meters north of Sacsaywaman. And number 4, there is an underground tunnel system beneath the site. Let's talk about item number 1, which is the main topic of this video. The claim that these stone blocks are artificial. This study began with the surface analysis of the rocks. The investigation started with this fact: a considerable amount of erosion on a large number of stone blocks was immediately detected. To arrive at an answer to these detrimental processes, a sample of the wall was taken. This sample did not have any cultural significance and was collected by the authorities in charge of the site. The sample was for carrying out spectral, physical, and chemical analysis in the various labs in Russia. The research methods and equipment used were optical microscope, X-ray, fluorescence analysis of chemical composition, X-rays, phase analysis of structures. So indeed, the study did collect samples to help figure out why the walls were eroding. Check this out. One sample was taken from the walls at Sacsaywaman. Okay, this wall sample they collected was called sample 115. The other sample was taken from a nearby quarry, which they suspected is where the limestone was quarried to construct the site. This sample was called sample number 4. Now, what do you think happened when they compared the 2 samples? Let's look. It turns out that both samples showed practically identical composition, which was limestone. Now, this proved that the quarry sampled was the source of the stone for the polygon walls, but although the 2 samples were virtually the same chemically, there were some surprising and drastic differences. So let's start with the wall. Sample number 115 has a uniformed, fine-grained structure. It can easily be scratched with a knife or a nail, leaving a strip of white on its surface. Now, sample number 4 is denser. It could hardly be scratched. It has a non-uniform structure with dots of light and dark tones. Both samples number 115 and number 4 dissolve easily in acetic acid and hydrochloric acid. The study of the petrographic thin sections taken from both samples reveal that sample number 4 is an organic limestone formed by marine microorganisms. Now, photo number 1 is no doubt a natural stone. Here's that photo of sample 4. It's limestone made up of organic material. Now let's learn about sample number 115. This is the wall sample. Sample number 115 is uniformly constituted by calcite microcrystals of 1 through 10 microns. Photo 2. The identification of calcite is confirmed by in-phase X-ray analysis. We can also see small chains and lenses filled with thicker crystalline calcite. Now let's hear this. The process of making the block material. It is impossible to be a process of nature. Organic limestone with a hidden crystalline structure bound to water at a high temperature can be transcrystallized to a marble, but in this case the crystals will be large. because nature's processes go slowly, allowing the crystal to grow into their shape, natural. The uniform structure of small crystals, as we can see in sample number 115, is impossible to obtain only if the processes are very fast and each point of the system is provided with water and carbonate material. So this is truly a bombshell. It's showing that sample number 4 is clearly organic because it demonstrates larger crystals and a slow growth rate. This is exactly what is expected in this type of material in nature. Then boom, we get sample number 115 here, the wall sample. This sample curiously has smaller crystals with a speeded growth rate, which is not possible in nature. Therefore, it seems the wall sample, sample number 115, is artificial. But wait, there's more. So in 2012, this finding did not exactly light up the world. As a matter of fact, you could say the study was virtually ignored for a decade. But then there was an interview conducted by Jacamo on his YouTube channel called Andean Megalithic Technology. Link below. Jacamo conducted an interview with one of the Russian scientists. He is Andrei Verianov. He is a geophysicist and a GPR operator who worked on and studied the Sacsaywaman site for months during the Russian study. Andrei's conclusion is that there were no impurities in the wall samples due to the fact that the material that made up the walls, it seemed, was crushed into a powder, like a chalk. And consequently, all the impurities, such as the fossilized microorganisms, were smashed into little pieces down to 1 through 10 microns. He compared the samples as wheat is to flour, the same chemically, but both have different structures. One is a whole and one is processed. So it seems the limestone was quarried from the site, then somehow crushed into a powder, then formed into a cement-like substance. Then it was crafted into the blocks which make up the walls of the site. Mind blown. Now let's talk about finding number 2 of the study, about how there are 2 types of blocks which comprise of Sacsaywaman's walls. The study revealed the 2 types of blocks were type A blocks and type B blocks. The type A blocks were on the lower levels of the walls. And get this, they seem to be covered in a shell of the cement-like processed limestone. And even crazier, these type A blocks appear to have a hollowed out like interior with another type of rock inside, what they termed non-homogeneous rock. You might be doubtful that these rocks are hollow, but watch Andrei's video here of the study.
And I find that these blocks have the empties in the inside of these blocks. You can see it clearly.
This shell, it is assumed to make the lower blocks stronger as they bear more weight. Now the type B blocks, they are on top of the type A blocks, and they seem to be solid and completely made up of the processed cement-like limestone. Let's pause right here and discuss what this means. This discovery, which was made by accident, by the way, the Russian team just wanted samples to study to help them do their assessment of the site. And when they asked if samples had ever been taken from the walls to be studied, the answer was no. So they sampled the walls. Now they ended up, it seems, discovering that these blocks that make up these walls are artificial. So, in that same year, in 2012, there was a meeting led by Nikolai Berdnikov at the Institute of Tectonics and Geophysics in Russia to discuss the incredible findings. But when they gave all the information regarding the walls possibly being artificial to the National Institute of Culture in Peru, it seems it was practically ignored. They totally ignored the information for a decade. Now, I think this information should change the way modern archaeology looks at the Sacsayhuaman site, as they currently teach us that these mysterious blocks were simply hand-chiseled with bronze tools by the Incan culture. I think this information would change everything, and at the least needs more study to possibly determine the exact method it would take to create these artificial blocks. Perhaps they weren't melted with fire, like igneous hard rock. Perhaps it was more like acid rock, and an acid was used to melt the quarried stones, and the quarried stone was transformed into a soft substance, something you could actually scoop with your bare hands. Yet I hardly see any mention of these findings anywhere. If we were to sample any limestone puffy polygon walls, and if we knew what quarry they used to get their stones from, we would probably find the same results, that the walls are artificial. This would make sense, as they share many other similar characteristics, the characteristics of the master stoners. The nubs, the keys, the scoops, the polygons, the puffiness, the precision, the precision. There must have been a forgotten world knowledge that the ancient master stoners spread over continents and across the oceans, from Egypt to Easter Island, something they passed around and shared. Puff, puff, give. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe, and don't forget to hit that hit that notification bell, so we can reboot histories together. See you next time, fellow foot soldiers. Let's get out there and explore the buried truth.